People are applauding.
Yeah, I know. Here we are.
Hello.
Pues. I've already started speaking Spanish, which is terribly complicated. Right now, let's see what happens. If people start, look. Now, when you turn up, tell us who you are. Well, we'll see who you are, but just say hello so we can get an idea of who's out there.
Yes, write in the chat so that like that we can know.
Right. Because otherwise we'll absolutely have no idea. We have 15 people already. Right. Let me just.
Don't be shy.
Right, good.
Colin.
There we go.
Hello, Adam. Hello, Colin.
Delightful.
Thank you.
That's good to see. Right, now I've got to find out where the heck I am.
Hello, Alison.
Alison Hull. How the devil are you? Good to see you. Thanks for dropping by. Kieran, my dear.
Hello,
The one who was
Kieran.
going to come visit us in Madrid.
Oh, I see.
Just remember.
Yes.
Right, all right.
Hello, Jacob. Hello, Marianne. Hello, Keith. Ángel, ¿qué tal? Hello again.
¿Cómo estamos? All right. Okay.
Hello, Ross. Yes, English. I like this. Thank you, Ross, for following us in Spanish. Must be for you excruciating. I'm so sorry. I wish we had Esperanto or something that we could all understand.
Just to explain to everybody, I was a little worried because we were trying to get this connected. This is hosted on Assumpta's page, her sort of public page, and I didn't want to post it on the other page because then because I don't have any other control over it. Okay,
Yeah.
so I wanted to do this.
Yes.
Wow, it's great. Right, well, here we are.
You are not anymore Kirkby.
Kirby. He's acting adjutant now.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought I was. That's from Sharpe's company.
Oh, really? Oh.
Sharpe company. Look, okay, everyone, you lovely people. My name's Scott Cleverdon, and I played Lieutenant Price in Sharpe's company, but not Sharpe's Waterloo, and we'll get to that. And you are?
I am Assumpta Serna, and I played Teresa Moreno.
Oh, hang on a second. Look, we completely forgot this.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Now.
Oh, my God.
Now it's going to be much better.
I can't believe it.
I'm so sorry.
You see, what we've just done, just to let you all know, is we all just finished a live stream about 20 minutes ago. We realised our webpage had been hacked, and consequently we had to get all this together ship-shape in Bristol fashion. That was sort of the idea. But
everything is fine now.
Hopefully you do hear us. And what we're here to do today is to talk about our experience in Sharpe. Did you have an experience in Sharpe?
I have a lot of experiences in Sharpe. Yes, was a very nice, particular time of my life. Yeah, I mean, it was the before and after. Yes. Yeah. So
tell me, right? This is what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
We're going to talk about our experiences, but what we really want to know is your questions. You see, because what I can do is I can come in here and I can put your questions on the screen. Okay, you see, that's my brother.
Ross.
Oddly enough. Okay, so we can share the questions, and we want to know what you need to know. Yes, we got hacked.
Yes, we got hacked.
Thanks for asking. I mean, I'm not ready to talk about it. It's still a sore point for me. So we're really interested in knowing what you guys want, what you think, and all the questions that you have. I know interacting with the people on the Sharpe's Rifles forums, and I think another forum which I think is called Sharpe's Rifles. I'm not sure.
Well, understand that the Sharpe is a series that we did in 1990.
Well, it was
1993, no?
Yeah, you did it. You shot it in 1992.
Yes.
And 1993,
93.
and I shot in 1993.
So yes, and there in 1993 I met here. What? Here. Scott. And then my life changed and everything went very good since then. And
I can leave the room if you want to be completely honest.
That's okay. That's okay. But
can,
what do you want me to explain about this?
No, I'm interested to know.
Yes.
And this is, I think this would be interested for you. There you go. It's a good question. We'll come to that. How much of yourself do you see in Teresa? Between you and me, it's like 100%. I don't know.
Well, I'm not using all these, firearms and, whips and all this, but yeah, a lot of it.
Which is a terrible shame. I've asked her, but she just refuses point blank.
I'm a fighter, really. I am a fighter in life. There is always. I'm moved with challenges. I'm not really. Every time that I just calm down and I stay calm and everything, another idea comes, and this idea is still, a bigger challenge. And so that's my life. So I've been doing that since I was, very young. I suppose
Crystal, it's exhausting.
It's
exhausting.
Yeah, I suppose, I don't know, my father wanted, back then you could study what they called sciences or letras.
Sciences?
Exactly, sciences and letras.
Okay, so it would be literature, one would be arts and sciences.
Arts and sciences, exactly, you would say in English. So my father obliged me to do both. So so I did that. And then my mother wanted to do also some courses in polychromy.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Polychromy?
Yeah, that's where you marry more than one woman.
No.
Sorry, that's polygamy. No,
No.
polychromy is when you. What it is, it's you find it in religious religious icons where it has
a patina
like kind of gold.
Gold. Pans of gold. You call it pan?
No, a patina.
A patina of gold, and you do it, with a real gold, and you do a lot of process. And I was doing that, in the window, and so in between science and arts. So all my life had been very busy. My parents, I was also studying piano. I did tennis lessons. And then I started theater when I was 14, and that was a discovery. I really liked the people. I really liked, to discuss texts, to analyze texts. It was for me fascinating to see all these worlds of all these, plays that we were doing back then when I was 14 and since I was 18. And when I was 18, I entered I did a pact with my father because my father wanted me to be a lawyer. So I said, yes, but you are going to let me do what I want to do, which is acting. So we did that for a while. That didn't work, of course, because I liked more the theater than the law. But I was a very good student, and I arrived at 3 with honors and everything. So my father couldn't understand why I wouldn't continue. But so from there, for me it was clear since I was, from 14 years old that's what I wanted to do, for the friends, for the people. And so when I was 18, between this group I went into classes in the what's called Untitled Chapter, which is kind of school for dramatic arts, the official school.
Right.
And then.
Oh, sorry.
And then from there, I moved to Madrid. I started to work as an actress, and in 1993, when I was doing Sharpe, I already had done a lot. My first really very good role was in 1981. And I was premiered in 1982. So I had 10 years of experience when I arrived there, and it was a very good experience. Mm-hmm.
No, I'm going to get to that. This first of all, everybody who's come here, who's a fan of Sharpe or who's never seen Sharpe, if you haven't seen Sharpe, go watch Sharpe. Sharpe is a wonderful piece of historical daring do, boys on adventure stuff, of British soldiers and a working class man working and fighting his way up the ranks, loving hard, fighting hard, drinking hard, and being firm friends with those around him. That's what Sharpe is. It's great British values, stuff which gets attacked and criticized all the time, and it's wonderful. The amazing thing is that we were in Astorga.
Yes.
We were in Astorga, and we showed the episode of Sharpe's Company, and we talked about it afterwards. And the person who was with us was a historian of the Peninsular War. And he said when the first time he went to London, he went to Foyle's, the bookshop, the biggest bookshop in the world.
For the Spanish here, Guerra de la Independencia.
Right.
We don't know it as a Peninsular War.
So he walked into the historical book section and he saw on the shelves, there was just shelf upon shelf upon shelf about the Peninsular War, about Wellington, about the battles, about all of those different things. And then he discovered all the fiction that grew up around it, Bernard Cornwell's Sharpe and, and other things at the period of time like Hornblower. And he said, when I came back to Spain, in the biggest bookshop in Madrid, there were like 6 books. And they'd all been written 30 years ago. There was absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. That Spain, having one of the richest histories in the world, is absolutely the worst at celebrating it.
No, not only celebrating, we are very bad to actually construct this idea of Europe, because back then, English and Spanish, we were very good friends and we were fighting, against French. And it's nice to understand why and, and all these powers that today they are there, why historically had been also the way they were. So for me also to act in a piece like that was also a way to understand a little bit more my culture and also the English perceptions, values, and also the boys, the actors there, because I had wonderful actors working with me, and I was really. Peter Postlethwaite,
Daniel Craig, Brian Cox, Michael Byrne,
Sean Bean, of course. They were
Jason and Michael, and
great actor Jason
and John.
Yes, so many. That it was really a pleasure, and I was like kind of, in 1992 when I started Sharpe, was the only girl. Because my role was really, a fierce woman. It was kind of Agustina de Aragon, which was a real character that happened, and in my mind, that was who I was playing.
She's kind of the Spanish sort of like sort of what we would call Bodicea or Boudica, depending on how you like to pronounce it.
Well, it was this heroine that that like Teresa, that all her family. That was, I suppose that's how he's been inspired to write Teresa Moreno. But in reality, in our history, the history of Spain, there was this woman who's called Agustina de Aragon, who was more or less the same thing. She came from a rich family. She fought the war against the French, and she happened to her terrible, horrible things that the French did to her family. So I was like saying, oh yeah, wow, I'm playing Agustina de Aragon. But anyway, Teresa Moreno really was an iconic figure, and it had been an iconic figure. I don't know. 10 years ago, perhaps, my agent sent me breakdown services, which is like a sheet of, where the casting directors ask the roles that they want, and so they was like, okay, we are casting so and so, and we want Teresa Moreno. As Assumpta Serna was playing in Sharpe. So it became really
an archetype.
This
really.
Character, an archetype, and I'm very glad that that I played it, and that it was also a very exciting time for me, because I discovered a lot of things about my life and about the work.
But first of all, I want to just because we've been doing these sorts of things every day, and you never quite get used to it. You never quite get used to the idea that there's a whole people watching you, and they're interested in what you're saying.
Yeah.
One of the things that I have to say, apart from all of you guys on the forums, and as Adam says, there's 2 Sharpe's rifles. It's very confusing in it. It's like the People's Front of Judea and the Judean People's Front. It's split.
2 Sharpe rifles groups? Where?
Yeah, I put it on both, on Facebook.
On Facebook,
on Facebook. So if any of you guys, I'm sure you're all a member of both. If it's not posted there, which I think I did, please post it. The more the merrier. The other thing that we have to say, I think all of us, is we have to really give a great word of thanks to Jason Salkey. Because Jason
maintained.
He's sort of been the kind of the archivist. He's been the one that has maintained it, and that's not recent. From the get-go, I've never met a kinder, more enthusiastic, more welcoming, decent man in my life. Jason is the salt of the earth, and he was. If there was a core, it was the thing that held everybody together. It was really Jason. Mm-hmm. It was really wonderful. So props to you. I don't know if you're there, but Thank you so much for keeping this all together, because this could have been just some funny little TV show that people watch on UK Gold, and that's that. But I think this is wonderful that because the other thing that we've discovered is that it's inspired people to become actors. It's inspired people to go into theatre. It's inspired people. Kieran, for example, she's a costume designer, and making your costume for Teresa is like one of the things that she's been doing. I shared photos with her and all the rest of it.
Yes, I remember you were telling me.
You know,
when I saw it. Yes, I remember this scene where I'm taking off all the things to go to
easy.
to my let's say date with Sean Bean, and I remember this as being one of the most iconic also images for me and it was when everything is like all this armor that this woman had was just gone when he was with him.
I think one of the amazing things about your character in Sharpe is that she was fierce and she was powerful, but she never stopped being a woman. Yes. She never became unfeminine. There's a wonderful thing, I think the first time I saw her shooting is the point where she comes in and she says, if I was a man, I would call you out and I would kill you. You, sir, are a man of the mouth. That?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I remember that. I remember it.
Because the way you walk like you've been on a horse for 3 days. You know what I mean? And you sit like that. And you were, yeah.
I was, because, a lot of things were in a horse. And I remember that, I always liked horses. But, I had like 2 or 3 horses. And it was very nice when, it was one that was kind of very, and the other one was very easygoing. And I had to really, hey, come, go. And but it was the perfect one who had a little bit the temper of both, and in some scenes I had him. So my horses was a little very interesting relationship I had with them. Well, we have also a story.
Well, we'll get into the story of that. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about, we mentioned this before, we're going to talk about the process of how we got the job, because you were replacing Diana.
Yes.
After Paul McGann broke his leg on a Sunday afternoon playing football.
Yes.
Which, poor guy, but yes. Right?
Poor thing.
No.
But it was very unfortunate because she was great, but they thought that,
she was
producers and directors, the director at the time, they thought that, they would be not chemistry between.
It's very interesting because
Sean Bean and her, and that was a really a problem for her, because she had been Teresa for some episodes, and to have to replace her was also for the production company a lot of work and a lot of effort. But anyway, I'm glad that I got the part, and it was really very surprising, all the process, because I was at the time I had a house in LA, I had a apartment in Paris, I had my apartment also in Madrid. And so for me, I was all the time in hotels, paying for these 3 houses, and so, but it
all
was
rented, by the way. I got to tell you that.
Yes,
absolutely. When there's nothing in our lives which we have never been sullied by the idea of being property owners. That's for sure.
So I had the secretary. I had all the life of of someone that was very busy working, and I needed some team to work with me. And so I was flying to Thailand to finish American series, and
the way you do,
almost in the air, going to the airport. Alcira, my agent said, look, I have this actress that had to be replaced, and they're looking for another actress, and they want someone quick, and would you just read that in the plane? I'm sending it to you via fax, and I don't know how was that, fax, or then it was only fax.
It would have been a fax. She didn't send you a WhatsApp.
No. Back then, no. And so I read it. I read it in the plane, and the plane was driving me to London, and from London to Thailand. So I had only 1 hour and a half to talk with the producers, and was Mia Sutherland. And we were very glad to actually meet each other. He was a very funny man and a very kind of, how you say, osito.
Like a bear,
like a teddy bear. I really immediately, I was very happy to be, to have the possibility to be with them in Russia. And for me, Russia was no food, nothing. I knew that, but what I found after Thailand was much worse than what I thought.
God love them. Right, so we're going to keep telling the stories, and I'm going to pop in with other questions that pop up, which might be interesting to the community. Colin Lawler says, I have a question, which according to all other sources, I really shouldn't ask. Why did they call you the Needle? Any ideas? You'd failed the Sharpe pub quiz, I tell
the
you.
Needle. No, I know, but I don't know. I
think metaphorically, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, I suppose metaphorically, because it was known in the, I don't remember, like in the script, I don't know, perhaps you remember it better than me. I mean, it's like 25 years. But I remember that the needle was I was always imagining that was something that was piercing, that was like, it was, because my character was not a round one. It had a lot of aristas, how you say, like a octagonal has a lot of aristas.
A lot of sides, a lot of facets.
A lot of facets.
But is la aguja, calling somebody la aguja, would you ever call somebody that in life?
No, not in Spanish, no. La aguja, no. But I don't know, something that, pierce, no, perhaps. Perhaps today we would call laser.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, this is interesting. Jacob Herrick, who I believe is somewhere in America. I'm not entirely sure where he is, but I communicated with him yesterday. How did you come across the opportunity to act in the miniseries, and what were your audition process like? Did you have any other acting prior to Sharpe? Well, just a little bit. You'd probably done about 40, 50 movies by then. So
yes.
You'd kind of done stuff.
Yes.
And in the 6 different languages.
I was working a lot. I had the opportunity to really, be in France for a while, because I wanted to also understand what was happening in France, and I learned French in my when I was in school, and for me it was easy, and so I went there. No, French. If you learn when you're little, is kind of.
French is really easy. I'm sure all the British people who went to British comprehensive schools, we all left there sounding like Charles Aznavour. That goes without saying.
Well, anyway, I don't know. For me, French was okay, and I was something that I learned, and I said, well, why not also to try France? I went there, and then I met a very interesting agent who was more theater an agent, and he gave me a play to play in the Odeon Comédie Française, and the director was a very nice, easygoing director, and I had a very nice time. I rented an apartment in Paris, and I started a life there, and this manager also introduced me to a French agent, and I had the clout of Matador, of Almodovar, and all my movies that I was doing here in Spain, and then Almodovar was a rising figure in Paris, so everything coincides in a moment,
We've heard of Almodovar, haven't we? I think so.
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, he's quite known. He's quite well known.
Almodovar is what they say here. Almodovar.
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 I like those Almodovar films. They're lovely. Those with birds with their clothes off. Right.
That's London accent, right?
Apparently. Certainly not Scottish. So, if you could change the story for dramatic purposes, how would you like to have seen Teresa's story go? Or was her untimely death the way you would have planned it?
Yeah, no.
Pretty sad, huh?
Yeah, I would like, I wanted to really have more time with Sean. I think that the idea of doing more things with him, together, fighting together, that would be a very interesting for me, a great development. But I didn't feel that.
Your mother's calling.
Yes, I didn't feel that was, that was, how you say that, that it was badly done. Let's say that was not really developed. No, I think my character was really good developed and had a lot of. But I was fighting. I was fighting for this character a lot, because back then, it was not easy, you know. It's not right now that now is, you know, women are in fashion and women, you know, no. I had to fight. I had to fight because I wanted really to you know, to understand that the woman at that period of time, they were really the ones also that they were fighting, you know, in this zone, you know, in all Aragon and where the war was. So, you know, for me it was an interesting opportunity to say things about women. And of course, you know, sometimes, you know, men, there was entirely, you know, a lot of male characters. And I had to fight, you know, also to be able to, you know, sometimes these scenes, when you have a war series, you see that, you know, all the fights, all the, you know, scenes with a lot of people that they were really engaged into this war, and you know, and it was nice. But also, you know, I was always saying, you know, but behind the scenes there was also, you know, men and women that, you know, that they wanted to feel love, and that they were really, you know, having this sensitivity also for the things that they were happening. It was nice that so I was fighting for that. I was fighting to really have the two sides of Teresa Moreno, no?
Well, also
to not be all the time, you know, with this vengeance on her eyes, right?
Well, one of the other things which is very, very tricky when you're filming is your character gets killed or something like that. You get shot, and whatever, and moving on. You just move on to the next thing. There's no time to stop and take a moment. There was a moment though where, because there is a grave scene for you, and apparently I didn't see it, but Richard Moore, the technical advisor, who I'm sure is around in here, who is one of the most fascinating gentlemen, and I use that specifically, one of the most fascinating gentlemen that I've ever met. He took a moment in his chosen man outfit, his rifleman outfit, in his uniform, and he stopped and he laid a small posy of flowers on Teresa Moreno's grave. Because this is one of the things that we've come to understand, is there's a real resonance with Sharpe and those lads and those stories, and there's a kind of sad sense of lost glory that's there, and about values and decency and
yes,
and all of those different things.
No, I mean, it was full of that. I mean, that's you know, when you do as an actor something that had values, it's such a relief, because finally you say something that matters. You say something that really makes sense to a lot of lives. You know, the sense of decency, the sense of transparency, the sense of, you know, not being there for, you know, ranks or whatever. No, but actually, you know, someone that really fought for what he believed. No, the character of Sean Bean was really well developed, I think.
Russell Crowe tweeted yesterday. He said it was 20 years to today that Gladiator was premiered, and then he filled it in by saying, "What we do in this life echoes throughout eternity." You know.
True.
But the other thing which I think is wonderful is to discover that the people who made the thing that we love the thing too. That's a very powerful thing.
Ross says, "This is good viewing. Alex and I are with you." Say big hello to Alex. Hello.
The beautiful Kieran Scholl, and
Hello,
she is
Alex.
beautiful, says, "Why was there no wedding scene between Sharpe and Teresa and company like in the books?" Quite simply, I would say it was budget.
Well, I think that also the boys were the boys. They were really more interested, you know, into this kind of. It's a pity. It's a pity for me. You know, I was really fighting for it, but you know, I want. You know, there's a lot of scenes that I said, why we don't say that? You know, why we don't? But it was tough, because you see, everything was. I mean, I saw the director many times with tears in his eyes when there was, like, you know, 60, 70, 100, 200 people in the scene. And when we were, Sean and me, doing the scenes, he wasn't excited at all, you know. And that's what, you know, that's you know, people, I suppose, they are moved for certain things. Me, I am moved for human beings. No, but it was it was a funny thing to do so much. Really.
What was your favorite line in both your characters had to say in Sharpe? Well, it always comes back to me is, you swear, sir? Yes, I do swear, on account of my willowiness, sir. Captain Sharpe is here to see you, sir. Right now, show me in price. Here was it. All that sort of, there's this, all that sort of thing with price. It's one of those roles you go, God, I wish I could go back and do that better. Like it always is, but I wish I could go back and do that better because I was very inexperienced and very young and very slim, very very pretty.
Yes.
But the other thing was, and this is a big secret, right? We'll get onto your favorite line in a minute.
Well,
at the time I was working at Shellmec's house on the Strand in London. I was doing customer service. Yeah. I was winning fairly good money, and I got this audition, and they said, "What's it like?" I said, "Well, he's a lieutenant, and he's a drunk, and but he's a good egg, right?" Now at that time, I had a very good agent, so I didn't have to go in and audition with lines or anything like that. I just had to go and meet Tom Clegg. So I thought, now as you can probably tell, I'm not actually English. I'm Scottish. I'm from Leith in Edinburgh, and I said, right, well, I can't go in sounding like who I am. I better go in as something else. So I went in, I put on this sort of off-white crushed linen suit that I bought second-hand somewhere. And I looked like a mess. And I pretended to be a public school boy, an ex-public school boy with a hangover. So I went in and I was like, oh, yeah, really sorry, it's great to meet you. It's got a real head today. It's like, we went out and got totally car parked yesterday. Probably not very sensible. So what's this all about then? So that's sort of how I got
the part.
So when I turned up on set, I was like, I mean, how am I going to speak? I don't want them to go, Cleverdon, imposter, Scotsman, get out of here. So I was always worried that they were going to find out that I'd pulled the wool over their eyes.
No, but you were very, I remember you when you were playing, you were always very proper English, and you had a lot of, I remember, let's say the anecdote of the...
All right, so how Scott met Assumpta. Are you ready? Right, how Lieutenant Price met Teresa Moreno, also known as La Aguja. It was the scene in Sharpe's company when it was Wellington's army on the move. And you had to drive for about 45 minutes in an old minivan that stank of like dirty diesel. And you'd have to go all the way there. There were no camper vans, no Winnebagos like you see on movie sets. We were in military bell tents. Okay, there was nothing that, when you were in the tent, apart from the odd piece of technology, you were there dressed as a lieutenant in 1812, the same boots, the same jodhpurs, the same everything. You got your sword, you got everything. And you had your horse. I very quickly learned how to ride the week before I went to do Sharpe's company, because they said, Scott, can you ride? And I went, oh, yeah, it's been some time. Yeah, but yeah, that's fine. Meaning it was a completely different life. I'd never been on a horse in my life before. And I ran to the Wimbledon stables and I was like, I got to learn to ride a horse. And they're like, well, when? It's like, can we do it now? And I'm like, well, what do you need to do? I just need to look like I'm not an idiot. I need to look like I didn't lie too badly. So my teacher was 12 years old, of course, and she spent the next few hours screaming at me, head up, hands down, heels down, relax everything. Anyway, so
I don't know. It appeared like a consumado jinete.
Right, and the first time I met Assumpta, she was in this minivan. I remember she had a gold packet of Benson and Hedges, and they came and she took the cellophane off and just threw it out the window. Right, just threw it out the window.
In Russia, in Crimea,
in the Ukraine, right? And she just threw it out the window, and I was like, right, there's not a lot of F's being given here right now. So went off, we got changed, we got our hair and makeup and costume and all the rest of it. It's very hard to dress yourself with these outfits. That's the other thing. So we got there, and then we got my horse. Now my horse only had one eye, right? And they sort of sensed that I didn't really know what I was doing, so they put me on a horse that was quite docile. which is a double-edged sword because A, it's not going to run off and kill you, but B, it doesn't want to move anywhere. But the thing with my horse is it had the hots for another horse that happened to be being ridden by this young lady. So I had a straw top hat, a big grey cape, a sword, and a horse with one eye that was in love with her horse.
So in the scene we had to say some dialogue, and so he says that it was in the minivan, but I don't really remember. I was
no, of course not. You were like
things.
that. You're like
No, I was learning my lines.
I'm not going to speak to you.
Smoking.
I'm a big European movie star. I don't know who you are.
No, that was his perception. No, nothing.
You are Scottish. Is that important for you? Very good.
Anyway, I didn't remember from the minivan. What I remember is I was in in the horse waiting for the other people to come. I'm always trying to be the first in everything. I'm sorry, but that is my upbringing. And so I was there waiting. I was there waiting, and then I saw this horse with him, and he was so handsome.
What, the horse?
The horse was okay, but I mean, poor thing. But
did you really think I was handsome?
I thought that you were very handsome, of course.
Really?
Of course. Your blue eyes. Look at the blue eyes. Well, they're wonderful. So anyway, that's what really And so the two horses just started to wanting to, and we were like trying to what they wanted to do.
And she found it very funny because in a typical British way, I was like, terribly sorry.
Yes.
Terribly sorry. It's the horse.
Because what they wanted is actually mate, no?
Yes, mate. That's very nice. I have no
that's
idea who's
nice.
watching. There could be young, impressionable, Sharpe fans out there. Yes, they were attempting to
mate.
engage in coitus, shall we say.
Exactly. And so they were having all these funny noises, and we had to say this dialogue, but these horses were all over the place, were like, and all these noises, and he was like, I'm terribly sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, really so sorry. It was very British, and I was like, I was really, really amazed by the politeness of this Scott Cleverdon actor.
And that's what John Mackenzie says, are you drunk, Miss Bryce? I probably should be. Just enough to get me over the wall, as it were. This is just to finish that little story was that. So we got back in the car, and it was just me and her going back to the set. I don't know what happened to everybody else. So I went, where do you live? And she said, I live in Paris, Madrid, and Los Angeles. Where do you live? And I said, I live in Dulwich. And she was like, and how's that?
I didn't know about
And I said, it's as interesting as it sounds. And quite frankly, Assumpta was the most interesting woman I'd ever met. I'd never met anybody who had that.
I was, or...
No, you were, and you still are.
That's what I
You still are. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear.
I occasionally get annoyed with it, but what do you expect? So that was that. And basically, until we got back together again, because I had to come back to London, and there's other messy stories which are not for public live streams, I have to say. But after we went back to Russia together to finish it all off, where we did the siege of Badajoz and all the rest of it, by the time we left, I think you left because you always traveled to hotels for long stays as if you went with 10 suitcases. It was madness.
Well, at that time...
you lived out of suitcase. You got on a plane every 12 days.
At that time, the fencing... Yeah.
Oh, the Fencing Master.
Fencing Master was premiered in London.
Yeah, this is a great story. So I met with my friend, Jimmy Ryan, on Charing Cross Road, Tottenham Court Road, Charing Cross Road. And I said, I met someone. And he went, well, who is it? You met her on Sharpe. I said, yeah. He said, well, who is it? And I pointed across the other side of the street to the cinema where the Fencing Master was playing, and I went, it's her. So when you see the film Notting Hill, there's a lot of moments in that film that I lived through, which are also not for public consumption, which include hotel rooms. and other bits and pieces. But perhaps we can do another stream. We can
Another stream,
We can
another
do it.
hot,
We can
the
do
one-
it. The exclusive X-rated stream with Scott and Assumpta.
Okay, Alison says, question for both of you. What was it like working with Sean Bean and the late, great Pete Postlethwaite? Well, Sean Bean was a funny character for me because, you know, first of all, the accent of Sheffield, I was like, it was very strange for me. I was like all the time trying to understand him.
You're right, Assumpta.
You know, it's like I always, you know, I wanted to communicate, but I had this problem because, you know, when I was like trying to sound more English, and then he would just, you know, go ahead and with his accent, and I couldn't understand a single word. So I was like, oh, really? Because I didn't understand what he was saying. So I had a problem of actually find, you know, connection with this man, this actor who had to be also, you know, my greatest love of my life in the fiction. So, you know, and he was, you know, we were going together sometimes in the set. That was the first week. And, you know, he was sitting there and he had, you know, a newspaper and I had my script and, okay, so, hey, how are you? I'm fine. Boom, that's it. And so I was like, huh? And how I can, you know, actually understand who he is. You know, I don't understand him very well. He doesn't speak very much to me. And so one day I saw him like laughing and laughing and laughing. And I saw Jason was there. And I asked Jason, and I said, what you were laughing about? You know, I wanted to understand what was the passion of this man. And so he said, oh, about football. He's a very good how do you say that?
Big fan.
A big fan of you know, Sheffield. Sheffield, the football. I have no idea, and you know what a subject. I have no idea. So I started to you know, ask, well, do you have a newspaper? So I was reading. You know, So next day, I was like, oh, by the way, the game the other day, you know, I was trying to start a conversation, and from that day on, you know, it was fine. You know, he understood that you know, I did an effort, really.
It's one of the things that people that you forget in a show like Sharpe is that if you're Sharpe, you're in every scene almost, and that means you are, you know, you're shooting every single day, lots of different places, lots of different action, lots and lots of dialogue, I mean, because one of the things that Sean is great at is just, you know, bringing that intensity at the drop of a hat. And also he's very, I mean, I remember him being very clear and on the things that would be right or would feel right. Not in a kind of, oh, I don't think my character would do that way. No, nothing like that. He represents the single-minded, straightforward British male with integrity, you know, who believes in fairness. I mean, that was really him, and to do that day after day, it's a hell. I mean, and also the days are 12, 14 hours long. You know, there's not a lot of time to, you know, lie by the pool. Not that there was one.
I mean, the problem we had, and then I really understood what was my, you know, my actual role into the boys' club was cooking, because the food was terrible, was awful. They were always complaining about bacon and eggs. Finally, they
actually flew in bacon and Marmite and other things. Sausages, I think, was a big one.
Yes, because the boys said, we are not going to go to shoot, because what we want is our English breakfast.
If we can't have a full English breakfast, I don't think we can do this anymore.
So yeah, they did that. So anyway, it was, you know, and then at night they would just go, you know, Russian clubs and this, and I really wasn't really, you know, a good company, because I never liked very much this. And so I said, well, what you can do to actually bring them together and bring them with me. So I went to the market, and it was like one apple. And then, you know, I tried to do, you know, nice things with the the actual food.
Make a very small pie.
Yeah, no, it was me and the makeup artist was a very nice woman, Portuguese, but living in France, Sano. And Sano and me, what we did was this big, meals for all the boys in Sunday.
Because she traveled with a stove. She had like an electrical stove that she took everywhere with us.
Because Mir was the first thing he told me. He told me, well, you're not going to eat well, girl. You're going to have a lot of problems because, Spanish food is great. Do something about it. So I had, pasta and rice and things in a big trunk that, that my mother actually...
When I went back, just to give you an idea, we're in a sanatorium, and Nicholas Jones, who I can't remember the name of the character he played. I want to say he played a surgeon. He was always in like a sleeping cap and all the rest of it.
I don't remember.
Well, I remember you basically made paella.
Sí.
Paella, right?
Sí.
And in the processes of serving it, it got dropped onto the floor.
Dropped it?
It just fell one way or another,
okay.
and we still ate it.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I don't remember that.
We sort of scooped off the top layer that hadn't been sitting on the floor, and we just ate it with gusto.
No, I mean, I did what I could, but to actually keep, alive this community, because, it's being in Russia at that time was not easy. The first year, we didn't have anything there. I mean, not only food, but also, I don't know, some kind of comfortableness, you say?
Home comforts, you would say.
So home comfort. So, everything, we were in this very cold place in the middle of nowhere in Crimea, where we had there, was like a sanatorium for
sick people. No?
Sick people.
Sick people, actors in film crews. But the other thing,
and we had these little rooms, and of course there was no, it was only one phone, and I had it. And I asked for it, and because I had to do some corrections for a book that it was going in how you say it, in galeras. But anyway, the corrections of a book for any editorial, how you say that, publishing company.
Yeah.
For a publishing company, so I had to, communicate with them. So that was my excuse to have a phone in my room. So everyone was like, also coming to my room to make a phone call. So it was food and communication. That was Assumpta.
Well, because one of the things that we are so incredibly, what's the word? Overwhelmed with technology and the capacity to communicate. I mean, look, all of you wonderful people are there. We're here. We're in Barcelona right now. This isn't our house. And you guys are all there. When we were in the Ukraine in 1992-93, there was no phones that you could use without it costing an arm and a leg. There was certainly no internet. There was no TV. There was no DVDs.
And the life was so different.
Nothing.
It was so different because, it was communist.
Post-communist. It was just after the communist.
No, still not. It was the next year. It was 93 when actually it started being really badly after that.
Yeah.
And the people were extremely nice. We had guia, how you say?
Guide.
A guide, exactly, who was there, who had also English and I mean... Oleg Vido, right?
Absolutely.
Vido, and he was very nice with me, and I was in Saturdays and Sundays going out with him in the mountains, and he was telling me the things that the people do in Sundays and Saturdays, and what they did was just be in the road, and they would stop a car, and then they would just go with them. And everybody was stopping, all the houses were opened, everything was for share. It was a very, very nice ambience there. Next year, they killed our
production
manager. It was guides, it was bodyguards in all the hotel rooms, hotel floors. I mean, it changed completely. What it cost you, I don't know, $1 for every day for a taxi. It was then costing you, $200. I mean, that from one year to the other.
When she says she means to have a taxi for the entire day, which is something that most people don't do, my dear.
No, but I mean, back then you could do it.
Yeah, you could do it.
And feel it with other people from from the road that you would just met.
Hitchhiking.
Yes, and it was a very nice. ambience. So all this changed from one year to the other, and then they start this Ferrari, and Testarossa.
You saw the sports cars from the mafia guys.
From the mafia guys, it was changed completely, from one year to the other. It was a pity.
Right. I want to say, Alison, she also asked about the late great Pete Postlethwaite.
Yes.
Right. Pete Postlethwaite was, and will forever be an absolute legend. Legend as an actor and as a human being. I first met him, I just arrived in Simferopol, where we're staying in this dreadful hotel, which had a casino, which they'd recently opened, with certain members of the chosen men had already worked out how to scam and beat, so they could win their Ukrainian coupons.
With the Monopoly money.
Yeah, basically. And the first person I met, as I walked into the corridor with my bag over my shoulder to my hotel room, which was next to Elizabeth Hurley's hotel room, was a man with a big grin on his face. And he reached out his hand and he had a joint in it, and it was Pete Postlethwaite, and he said, "Welcome, mate, how you doing?" Right? And that was it. I'd never known a man so generous as an actor and as a human being. Fearless in all things. You really
fearless. That is really the word.
And when Pete was acting, we would all stand back like that, and we're like that. Wow. You were like that, cleaning the floor with everybody, and we were so happy to witness it.
Yeah, he had control in every part of his body. I remember when he had to be with Mina, and it was a point that he was like entirely red, his veins here just pumping, and he was just, on with his imagination. It was really, an animal actor, or whatever you want to call it.
There's a strange anomaly because in Sharpe's company he shoots me, right? Mm-hmm. And you are way too upset. You go, "Harry," and I'm like, "How did she know his name's Harry? Have they hung out before? Have they had drinks or something like that?" It was like you're way too kind of, well, a little bit too pally with me. But anyway, Pete was like, I can't. You'll hear that from everybody. He's just wonderful. Right, let's tear through some questions because we've got a lot of people watching, a lot of questions that are out here. Right, so with the pizza okay.
Leticia.
Letitia's back. Leticia Laitre, thanks for joining in. I hope you understand something. Right, here's a quick one. Do you prefer acting for theatre or film? I prefer film. What about you?
Both. I think now I'm doing theatre, and it's always, is another complete different medium. So, you develop muscles that they are different, and I love to be in contact with people. So in theatre, when I can see exactly what's going on with what I do, and I change, every day because they are, giving me back things. I love that. I love this experience. It's nothing, But then in movies, it's also, very nice, very nice the crew, all the process,
It's a bit like asking if you prefer, McDonald's or Pizza Hut. They're both awesome on the right day.
Yes, it's for me, yeah. I mean, everything that has to do with really communication, I love it.
Patrick?
I always say that if I would not be an actress, I would be a journalist. I love that too.
Patrick, he apparently thinks we're great.
You two are great, thank you.
Thank you.
It is wonderful to hear about.
You're great. Really.
Sharpe and everything else you have been doing and are doing as performers.
Oh, I haven't told about our wilderness years and our terrible heroin addiction. I'll get to that.
Emma Rita Ann. He says, "It's great that you are doing this. We're both brilliant. If there is one thing you could change about your character, Lan Sharpe, what would it be?"
I wouldn't get killed. That's one thing. Yes. And I would have come and done Sharpe's Waterloo, which is a story I'll get to.
Ah, yeah. Explain that.
I was living in Los Angeles with her nibs, right? I was living in Los Angeles, and you were off doing another film, and I was there, and things were starting to happen there. They asked me to come and do Sharpe, which was going to be shooting in Turkey. And I was like, yeah, great, love to do it. And they said, you're going to have to get yourself to London. I didn't live in London. I hadn't lived in London for quite a few years at that point. And I said, well, you're not going to buy my ticket? And I foolishly said, if you're not going to buy my ticket, I'm not going to do it. Because it would have meant me basically spending a couple of £1,000 on tickets to go and work for less than a couple of £1,000. Mm-hmm. And look, in life, ladies and gentlemen, you very rarely regret the things that you do. well, it's like Sir Thomas Beecham said, you should try everything once, except incest and country dancing. that you usually regret the things that you didn't do. There's some jobs that I've turned down for various, sometimes ethical reasons or whatever, but I really regret not coming back to do Sharpe's Waterloo. Of course, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful thing. But at that time in my life, I was a bit of a dick, I suppose.
No, you wanted to pursue the career in LA, and you thought that that if they wanted you, they just make an extra effort. But it's all about.
What would you change in Sharpe?
Nothing.
Apart from not dying?
No, nothing. Perhaps what I would change is that I would like to have more scenes with him, actually.
Yeah, but that's not going to work. You being flirty-gurty with drunken Lieutenant Price.
Well, no, it's not being, but we could have other scenes, and discuss other things. I don't know, I always like to work with him.
It's either me or Mark Warren.
And there is no enough things we've done together, so I have this thing, inside, because... I think that would be very interesting to act with him.
I'm like Al Pacino in Godfather 3. I keep trying to get out, but she just keeps pulling me back in. That's what happens. Right. So Gary Fowler. Hello, Gary. How are you? Amazing beard.
Wow, yes.
Loving your work. I hope you've got a motorcycle. Right. I think he does, actually. It's a leather jacket. Right. Good evening, Assumpta Scott. Having watched the Rifleman Harris video diaries, how did you cope with location schedules and living arrangements while filming Sharpe? Well, I think we kind of covered that.
Yes.
Look, there was a great part about...
But the location, and another thing that is very interesting, was that it was so cold. I mean, it was August, but, being August there, for me, for a Spanish person, I mean, it was really cold. And so I did something that it was really a trend in with the boys. Yes.
You told them to piss off.
No, no. The best thing I could find is, I would stuff the newspapers, into my clothes.
Into your chest.
Into chest.
I was sorely betrayed when I finally discovered that that's what it all was.
No, in the trousers, and boots, because they were.
Yeah, you put in the soles of the boots. Yeah.
Yes, and the newspaper was really, really a good idea. So everybody was doing it afterwards.
Top tip: stick the newspaper
Top tip.
Down your trousers. Right. So okay, let's keep going. Right. So we got Adam.
Adam says, did Daniel Craig throw anything of yours out the window like he did with Lyndon's alarm clock? No, Daniel Craig, no. He was kind of a hermetic boy to me.
A hermetic boy?
A hermetic, yes.
You mean he was like a hermit?
No, hermetico.
Very sealed, closed off.
Very sealed, closed off. I loved his eyes though. And, I'm always falling with great eyes, of course. But, but I don't know. I couldn't really, talk to him more than.
But he didn't throw any of your personal belongings.
No.
Right. Let's see.
Elizabeth or Alan or.
Look, Brian Coxey.
Cox at Lambda. How funny that you worked together. Yes.
I did a masterclass in my drama school where I did Hamlet. I actually did Get Thee to a Nunnery scene, and Brian Cox was the guy running the masterclass. Brian Cox, we often forget, was one of the greatest stage actors in the late 80s and 90s. His King Lear, which he did in tandem with Richard III, with Ian McKellen, who was out there going, that was, he was doing his thing. They toured all over the world and probably other places in outer space with that. And he is an extraordinary actor. And he's from Dundee, which is not particularly easy.
We've been afterwards, in contact with him. We went to see him in LA, remember, doing a play.
And he's one of those guys that you run into.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was very good with me. He was a little bit jealous that I had the phone, though.
Yeah.
Aha.
Yeah. So that he was great. Alan Hunt says, have you seen the Goya drawings of Partisan and the French treatment of each other? I don't know. Have you seen those?
No, the Goya drawings of Partisan and French treatment of each other. No.
Well, you will. Well, I know there's certain things about when people getting shot, and when Goya was doing the stuff. Look, the irony is that in the film the Goya's Ghosts, I actually play a French general who's giving a huge speech to the army just as they invade, and criticizing the Spanish monarchy as being Italian. So there you go. What goes around comes around. Right, Elizabeth Sands, one of our dear friends from across the pond, who has we've been communicating with each other for years, and one of the dearest people I've ever known yet never personally met. And she says, I fell in love with the Napoleonic Wars due to Sharpe, and with my late husband being a soldier, I was compelled to search the history of the forebears of the regiment. They are still the oldest industry regiment with 116 battle colours. All the battles in Sharpe's world, i.e. Badajoz,
Salamanca,
Albufera, and, it's extraordinary. I think one of the great powers of certainly British storytelling is that we've managed to make our history come alive and breathe.
I always love
powerful.
that. I always love that because we are not so good at doing this. In our cinematography, we don't have this respect for history, and it's a pity because we have great history, great characters that would be so thrilling.
Right. Patrick says, and you sang in Sharpe and sang well.
Well.
I'm not a singer. I don't sing.
I remember him rehearsing.
Come cheer up, my lads. Yeah, I remember. I had one take, one chance. Because it was a cappella, there was no reference to the note. I could only do it once. They couldn't cut it between one and the other. And it was sung live, and it was about 150 people watching. And I had my testicles somewhere around here, more than normal.
How old were you then?
Old enough.
No.
I would have been, 23, 24. 23 years old. You devil, you.
Well, I was 30.
6.
6?
Yeah.
That much?
You're 12 years,
Then
you're 12 years older than me. No,
12, but not
12 years older than me.
22?
Yeah, well, maybe something like that.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, let me go. Headlines. Scott and Assumpta divorce after live stream about Sharpe's rifles. Right. Whatever happened to the Popular Front? Fuck off. Splitters. Right. Anyway, that's what Colin's referring to here.
Adam says Jason has been fantastic in keeping Sharpe alive. Yes.
Absolutely. Jason is an absolute.
Keeping, period. Yes.
Well, the other thing is that it's a lot more than that. Is
he here?
I don't know if he's here. We need to see. I don't know if he's here, but there's it's some community. It's common passions, and it's I think there's something extraordinarily positive.
Oh, there is a book, Jason's book, coming out soon, we hope. Oh, that's nice.
Okay, that's great. I look forward to that.
A fantastic TV show, great acting, loved Sharpe and wish it never ended, Lee says.
Yeah, me neither, but they killed me, Lee. I'm not going to go there.
Marcus says, inspired people to go into and work in history, heritage and research. Speaking personally, but many others I know.
Absolutely. I think that's one of those things. I had a very good friend when I was at drama school. I might have told this story somewhere else. Very good friend at drama school, and he was a big Doctor Who fan, and I quite liked Doctor Who, but he was, pathetically so. And we were always mates throughout drama school, and then we left. We moved to London, and he would always turn up late when we were having a beer or a coffee or something because he'd been to Forbidden Planet to buy Doctor Who books or videos or God knows what else, and he loved it. And then in 2005, while Christopher Eccleston was halfway through the rebirth of Doctor Who, I read on the internet that they cast the new Doctor Who, and that guy was my pal David Tennant. And I knew somebody who actually managed to fulfill an impossible dream, to play a beloved role that he loved when he was a kid and obsessed about it, and do it in a show that had been cancelled. So the most and that show is one of those things which is absolutely filled with people who became writers and production people and designers and makeup and special effects and the bloody Doctor himself.
It would be nice to do another Sharpe, isn't it?
Well, I think so too. But anyway, so
hello, Philip. Hello, how are you?
Oh, Philip's here. Well done, Philip.
Thank you very much.
Right.
So Marcus, Andy Wilson says, why did you think that the series was so popular?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry, Andy. Why do you think the series was so popular and that there were no real hated actors in it? Such a good cast. It's true.
It was one of those things that it was quite. The television business is considerably different now than it was 10
Back
years
then.
ago, and certainly back then. This was something that was going to be shot on location. It was audacious in its scope in terms of action and in terms of locations and what it was attempting to achieve. It was very sort of high end. It was sort of event TV back in the day.
And also, I think because what we said before, the values that was there, the courage, the transparency of a man who wanted really to be considered as he was for marriage and not for birth. All these questions, that they were arising back then, they were very powerful for the people, I think.
Well, no, the other aspect was why there were no hated actors is because the pitch was for the actors, do you want to come and do Sharpe? I don't know what it's going to be like, but it's going to be an adventure.
Yes.
You really had no idea what you were going into. You couldn't Google it. You couldn't look it up. You couldn't find out what somebody else has said about it. You were literally flying into the unknown. When you flew into Moscow, there's a story. Pot-au-feu. I can't remember his name. Wonderful actor, Tony Haygarth. Tony Haygarth was in the cockpit when the plane landed in Moscow in a driving blizzard, and he said what happened was. It's coming in because there's got a huge crosswind and you don't normally the computer more or less lands the plane these days, the autopilot. So it's coming in, so you're having to force against the thing which is pushing the plane out of the way, and you're having to fly into the wind. And it's just like he said, I watched the pilots. Like that.
Well, the
No.
planes-
But the story is, as he was finished, they landed, and the pilot turned around to him and he went, "It's bloody terrifying, isn't it?"
Wow, he said that.
Yeah. So what happened was that we were all off on an adventure. It was a great leveler because you couldn't ask for the presidential suite because, quite frankly, there wasn't one. And it was when you were in those bell tents on top of a plateau somewhere with the smell of horses and the sound of whinnying, the chatter of men sitting around smoking cigarettes on camp stools, and speaking Russian, which is they were, and you're on a camp bed and you got nowhere to go and dirt under your feet. It was as close to being there as you possibly can. So
Also
the idea of
very cold.
so the folk who do reenactments of whether it's Napoleonic stuff, because we ran into a whole bunch of them when we were in Badajoz one day,
Yes,
right? Which was kind of like,
what was that? They recreated the Napoleonic Wars.
yeah.
Right?
Well, they recreated the siege of Badajoz, right? So
exactly, the city of Badajoz.
Now,
yeah.
those people will be criticized for many different reasons, which I don't agree with. But the one thing I do understand is why people do it. I totally get that.
Mm-hmm.
I learned from Richard Moore, for example, how to cut my sideburns. You probably all know this because you're all experts at it more than I do. But I said, so how did they cut their sideburns? I said, that's very interesting, Lieutenant Price. Very interesting, sir. You would call me sir. Yeah, Richard. One day we're on the siege of Badajoz, and he came down and he sat next to me, and he was like, "May I, sir?" I said, "Feel free, Richard." He said, "You fancy a little drum, sir?" And I went, "Yeah, of course." And he handed me a flask. I took a drink and I handed it back to him. He said, "Well, this will be going down in the diary on the walls of Badajoz, having a drink with Lieutenant Price."
Nice.
Right? I get it. I get it. It's impossible to do something like that and not be a fan of it, because you're so privileged. You doing what you do, the fact that we met and everything else, but you're so privileged to be part of to have a very small piece of that little life that story that went on there. It's very moving. So that's why Andy. There might be another reason, but that's my
Our
excuse.
heart was there.
Yeah, everybody's heart was there.
That helps.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Jason and Natasha, because they met there.
Really? Yes.
Yeah, she was a translator.
Of course, she was a translator.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Right.
That changed the lives of a lot of us. Believe me. I mean, well, always that there is a series of more than a year.
Yeah.
Things happen. But
Neil says plot twist. It was not Sharpe's daughter, but actually Harry Price's.
It was not Sharpe's daughter, but actually Harry Price's. Yeah, I understand.
Yes.
Well, yeah, that is a twist.
We came out with blonde hair and blue eyes. It could have been, there was no paternity tests. Right, let's see what else we got. Javier Ramón Compañi. Hola, ¿qué tal? Buen día. ¿Cómo estamos? Right.
Jacob Harris says, I always thought it was because she was a guerrilla fighter hiding in rural areas like a needle in a haystack.
No, that's a brilliant point, Jacob.
Yeah.
That's why they call it. But is it?
Could be.
But do you have the expression in Spanish? Una aguja
En un pajar, sí. Yes. Could be.
Jacob, that is the best. That's what I would vote for.
Yeah.
That's what I'd vote for. That is brilliant, man. I love that. Right, moving on. Do you remember the books The Castrator and Other Parts of Him? His name was more literal. No, I
don't remember, Marcus.
Right, let's keep going.
That's a very good metaphor for Teresa.
Right, Jacob is in Indiana. He's a stand-up guy, and he does, I think he's doing theatre design and costume and things like that.
I see.
Ooh, right, let's keep going. Right. Oh,
then it says
Richard McPherson from Ledbury. Ledbury is a beautiful town which has the buildings with the wood exposed on it. Yeah, I happen to know where Ledbury was. We friended each other on Facebook the other day. That's the other thing, guys. Assumpta has 5,000 friends on Facebook, so she can't accept any more. In fact, if somebody comes in, we actually have to delete some people.
Yes.
It's like killing somebody. It's awful.
Well, we can invite him to the other one.
Well, you got the pages which are there, which is Assumpta Serna, facebook.com Assumpta Serna.
But that is a profile? No, that is the actual page.
That's the actual page.
Okay, the profile is what I cannot invite anymore.
No, because you got 5,000 friends.
I'm always confused.
Right. This is an interesting question from Nancy.
Hello,
the other great thing is that it's completely agnostic. Men, women, everybody loves it. Do you know what I mean? I think there's something lovely about it. So Nancy says, do you think Teresa could have gone back to the normal life for a woman in Spain in that time?
Well,
she had a kid, didn't she?
Yeah, I think she could. Yes, I think she could. I mean, the history is full of these women. Also we had it on the Spanish War in. In the 34 and 36, they were really incredible women. I mean, even the Pasionaria, the communist leader was a woman. So, at that time, I think that, when a woman had been like her, like Agustina de Aragon or one of these people, they were representing also not only one, but a lot of women that had the same problem, And I think that is something that, people kind of, appreciate.
What's a curious thing is that my first line I think I say in Sharpe's company is what we're doing is we are attacking Ciudad Rodrigo and we're liberating Ciudad Rodrigo from the French. And the British Army did terrible things when they got there. There was rape, theft, all sorts of murder. There was all sorts of terrible things, which is one of the reasons I go, you will not harm the local populace. Keep your breeches on, or you will swing. That's what I
remember that phrase.
So I say that. But the reason for that is the terrible things that happen. Now, the coincidences of life is that Assumpta made a film with a company that's in Ciudad Rodrigo, right? And she shot there, and we have spent so much time in Ciudad Rodrigo.
Yes, and we will.
And what's great is the director, his dream is to make a movie about the siege of Ciudad Rodrigo.
Exactly.
Because there was heroic partisans and there was freedom fighters out there. But the funny thing was that my first line in it was, we're in, Ciudad Rodrigo is taken. Right?
Yes,
and I remember going, Assumpta, hello, how are you? Scott Cleverdon here. How do you say this? Because when you see Ciudad Rodrigo, you go, it can't be said like that. So you taught me how to say
Ciudad Rodrigo.
So I say Ciudad Rodrigo in the show because you taught me. And that was like my first words in Spanish.
And so then, much years later, we find this wonderful director that we want to do projects with him, that we are, working with him as a screenwriter, and in Ciudad Rodrigo. Isn't that funny?
which is still wonderful. It's worth visiting. It's a great place.
Yes, great
right,
place.
let's keep going.
Very nice walls.
Yes, of course. I'm sick. Do you see? People have asked, what did I throw up? It's actually they gave me cold cold powdered like cup of soup, and they mixed it up in water, so it was really disgusting. I was sick. Did you see it just there?
It's always disgusting, these things.
What I always thought is that little kid whose name escapes me, who was playing the young officer.
Oh yes.
I thought, what a trip. He was wonderful. He's probably in his late 40s now.
Colin? No, what was called? Yes, of course.
Oh no, his name was Flip, or something, or Pip. I think his name was Pip.
Yeah,
I think his name was
remember.
Pip, which is another name for Philip. But it was wonderful for him. Yeah, that's as Jose says. He says everybody lied badly, saying they rode horses since they were 3 years old. Yes, we've all done that. Oh yes, yeah, it's been a while.
Carol Butler has a question. It says, my question is in two halves. The Morenos were of the blood. Do you think that the guerrillas would have followed a woman of the Spanish nobility at the time? And as Spain was so traditional and Catholic, would the nobility have allowed Teresa such freedom and tolerated an English bastard too? It's very interesting because, I did Henry VIII, Kathleen of Aragon, also for British television.
With Ray Winston.
Yeah, and...
Ray Winston, Mark Strong, Sean Bean. Sean Bean was in it. I've heard of him. And Helena Bonham Carter.
Exactly, Helena Bonham Carter. And so anyway, it was a great show about, Henry VIII, and I was Kathleen of Aragon. And so I discovered that the idea that, I wouldn't say British people, but some British people have about Spain is totally... is a black legend, and the black legend it comes from the idea of Catholic and Protestantism, and it's it's so rooted into the and it's no way. We've done very badly to actually explain what was going on. I mean, Kathleen of Aragon was a character, for instance, that it was very smart. It was a woman that was. I mean, it's the only one that was not killed, right? So
well, she was the first female ambassador.
She had a great
Europe.
Education. She had she was. I mean, she spoke Italian, spoke Spanish, spoke English, spoke everything at that time, and so the idea that the British had about the Catholics, they were so closed and I'm black and not cultured, and I always have to fight against that. I don't know. I mean, I think the fault is from the Spaniards. That they didn't really came across with a interesting stories or history, but it was this. I always feel that the English language speaking countries, they have this black legend about Spain. I remember reading a book in America. Also, is the same thing.
But there's a very interesting thing that she says, that we Morenos are of the blood.
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
so
yes.
And so, but what you're really saying is that I am gentleman class. Mm-hmm. I am a gentleman. And there's something very powerful about that idea of a gentleman. And the powerful thing in Sharpe is, I think, it's the idea that that being a gentleman is not something that can merely be bought, although it is, but it's something which is earned, and something which gains its own respect through your own particular actions. It's like Wellington. Wellington will see Sharpe as a man to be trusted, and there's a certain thing with that with about Teresa is I can completely buy that a powerful Spanish noblewoman who decided to put on a pair of trousers and carry a sword and shoot Frenchmen, that they would follow her to the ends of the earth. Yes, because there's. And it's like Henry. It's like Queen Elizabeth I. She said, "I may have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and soul of an Englishman."
What I try to do when that happens, is I want to give to my characters a sense of I don't know if to say pride, dignity, really. Because I don't see it in the dialogue, and I was like, come on, let's do the Spaniards a favor. let's just because that's what I always have to fight, with perceptions, with prejudices, with with Spain. I remember that also in France. We have all these silly ideas of each other. No, what an Europe we are. No.
Let me do this. Just
Jacob says a horse. He says, My romance for a horse.
Oh, I discovered I was doing a film about the Knights Templar, and I was wearing chainmail and like the white tabard with the red cross in it, and I had sort of long hair and a sword, and I realized that that's the male equivalent of a bikini.
Yes.
Because it was just a lot of like ladies, the makeup people, and all the people. They were like, "So do you like ride horses much and stuff? Is that comfy?" It was.
Neil
fun.
says, I have also heard Sean Bean acquired quite a lot of items from the set of Sharpe. Since either of you take anything from the set, and if so, what?
This is what I took from the set, mate.
Yes.
This is what I took.
And that.
And they're
also-
not getting it back, mate. Did you steal
No.
anything?
Um,
You wouldn't. You couldn't.
I always have little things. I like also to steal a little bit.
I mean, for example, look.
For instance.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I have my, how you say, trenza.
You have your ponytail, your hair.
Yes, my hair that that they was bought for the show. I have that still. I have it.
The thing with the costumes is they were all incredibly historically accurate, and they all belong to Angels and Burmans. You weren't gonna steal anything from there.
Yeah.
It was absolute minimum.
We have watches. And
Well,
we have buckles.
Well, we bought a lot of. You'd be walking along the shorefront in Yalta,
Yeah.
and Russian sailor would come up to you, go, "Would you like to buy belt?" And you would go, "Hello, my good man. Yes, what?" You go, "Would you like to buy belt?" And you go, "What kind of belt?" And he would show you his belt. He would show it to you,
Yeah.
and you go,
This one.
you go belt, and you go, "How much?" And you go, $5. And you go, "All right, you had $5. I mean, what else are you going to spend your money on?" And you were thinking he was going to reach into his pocket and bring you out a belt. But he would go, "Great." And he'd actually just whipped the belt out and handed it to me like a snake. And I was like, "Thanks very much." And he walked off very happy, holding his trousers up.
Yeah, at that time everybody was selling everything for couple of dollars.
No. The soldiers who were the...
Uranium.
Well, you brought uranium home with you.
No, but I remember that there was these military people that were in charge of doing all the camps and everything, and they were selling everything. I remember that.
Yeah,
I suppose Jason must know.
It was easier to get uranium than it was a bacon sandwich, that's for sure. Right, so let's see what else can we... for example, the weapons, right? This would be interesting for the people who are interested in this stuff. Sean obviously has a heavy cavalry saber, which is very particular. I was shown how to fight from horseback by a Cossack, like a real Cossack guy, because they're experts in in horsemanship and all the rest of it. So he said to me, "This is how you fight from horseback," and I learned a great deal from him. He said, "All you do, you always keep the arms straight and you cut down in an arc, and the only place worth aiming for is the top of the ear, And I was in a fight with a stuntman, this huge Russian man, right? And we went like, you do this, and then you kill me like that. So I went, ching, ching, whoo, right? And he said, no, hit me. And I was like, I'm not going to hit you, because it was a real sword. It was a real light cavalry saber.
Yeah, they were mad.
A real light cavalry saber from the time period. It was like, 18th century or whatever, 19th century. So he said, just hit me. So I did it, and I just hit him. And then I realized that a light cavalry saber is useless unless you're on horseback and you're cutting somebody just above the ear. Because the idea with the leather pads, a sword can't cut through that. The only type of sword that you could really do it was like with Sean's sword, which is huge and heavy, and you just had to hack them, and it was the blunt force trauma of it. But a light cavalry saber, the only thing that was worthwhile cutting was somebody's face or their neck.
I remember the pistols. They were, with powder. With black powder, and they actually were. How do you say that?
Exploding
Exploding
sparking.
to you, sparking in your face. And so and it's like, but what do you mean? No, your eyes. No, you close your eyes. So, of course, because I know that this is going to enter in my eyes.
Well, that's one of the things they learned. Richard Moore established that the muskets, the Brown Bess rifles, were incredibly reliable, as they would fire 90 odd times out of 100. They were really, really reliable. But anyway, good stuff.
Well, I remember once that I was learning how to do the things with the whip, and that was really fun. I had like 4 or 5 days of doing this. It was very nice until I really did it.
Right, Norfolk. Right, I can't do a Norfolk accent. I wouldn't, apart from the guy who bred the turkeys. But I'm not going to go there.
Idoia says, where we can find Sharpe nowadays? Well, that is a very interesting question. I'm sure you can find it Amazon. You can find it,
You can get the DVDs. You can get. I'm sure they've come out with Blu-rays. They're really good. I mean, they're really great fun, and they made a lot more after they killed us off. That's for sure. Right.
It's a pity that never showed in Spain, Sharpe.
Yeah.
And he's talking about the Spanish War.
William Miller, how the hell are you, sir? How are you doing? I got caught up playing Gregor McGregor in a Venezuelan play reading in Spanish.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks to you. It was great fun because we discovered that Gregor McGregor is also not only Scottish, but he's from where I'm from. He's from Edinburgh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a chuckle. But I hope things are growing weight. William Miller is a wonderful actor, and he's a good-looking bastard as well. Really, he's a shamefully attractive man, and he's a really nice bloke. Right.
I met Pete in Belfast. He was actually quite fond of you, Scotty. He said I was a wee bit more handsome.
You see that? You see that? It's an absolute gentleman. Ross told me about this. I think he had a pint with him.
Oh, really? With
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would give you the shirt off his back. I swear to God, and a big joint if you had it.
Yeah, he was very, very conscious that did I hurt you? Did I, when he was.
Look at that. Any chance of getting you to sing Heart of Oak? Do you really want that, Gavin? Do you really want me to shatter your dreams and all the good crystal you got in the house?
Heart of Oak is the sing that you were singing?
Yeah, come cheer up your lads, 'tis to glory we steer to had something. I'm not going to sing it right now because I have to get into it. I can only do it if I've got like a small army or maybe a troop.
I remember you had this wonderful voice.
Well, because John Tams made me a tape, right? And I had a Walkman. And I would.
John was the time. He was the one who was singing all the time.
Yeah, so he recorded it for me. So if you hear a heavy John Tams influence, and I listened to it over and over and over again, and I would finish it, and then I would take it out. Anybody who remembers back in the day, to save the batteries on your Walkman, you'd get a pencil and you'd run it back like that, like it was a football rattle. But God, I was absolutely terrified. Right.
Gavin John Woods, never thought you'd see me on this live stream, did you? No, we didn't.
Strangely enough, no, we didn't. Yeah.
Spielberg said Postlethwaite was the greatest actor ever.
And that's why Spielberg is Spielberg, because he recognizes his greatness. Yes. He really does. And it's the same thing. He's, it's like when he put Bob Peck in Jurassic Park. Another great actor.
I remember he was doing, after he did this movie, The Name of the Father was, right?
Yeah.
We called him and he said, wow, you were great there, Pete. Remember that?
Yeah. And you voted for him in the Oscars.
Yes, I voted.
That's what we did. So it's good to do that.
Yes. I like that.
Yeah, look, Bernard Cornwell said he was a better Obadiah Hickswell than the character he created. Look, that's what a really good actor will do, is they will bring to a role something that you couldn't have written and something that you couldn't have directed. They bring you something and it transcends that, and it just becomes something else. And he was having a whale of a time, and just fearless, absolutely fearless.
Rosemary Angus says, how many beans could Sean Bean eat if Sean Bean did eat beans?
It's a very good question. I just wouldn't like to be around the next day.
Yes.
Or in a lift with him, because that might be a little dangerous.
Sasha says, could I ask what Teresa thought of Richard Sharpe's future romances?
They're all strumpets, hussies, absolute slappers. Well, I met Elizabeth Hurley in the corridor. She went, hello, and I went, what is this strange, unearthly creature I see before
Very smart, Elizabeth. I remember being in the car going with her in the from the hotel to the location, and he was asking me all these things, about relationship with Sean, so he was like, without remorse, without any, wanting to know the relationships with everybody. And of course, I was like transparent, like I'm always are. And then I after this trip, I said, wow, she knows more from this trip than when I was actually, in 1 year here.
Yeah.
She's smart. She's smart that way.
Yeah. So then what you did is you saw them laughing together, and you overheard the conversation, and she was talking to him about Sheffield.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing. Yeah.
She was there reading the back page of the Daily Mirror, right? So what do you think of the future? I don't know. It's a bit sad. I mean, it's Teresa. You can't, once you've gone, Teresa, you can't go back. You know what I'm saying?
Harry Price always looked spunking in red. Did you never want to do the green jacket? Stephen Hars.
I thought I actually made the red outfit look rather dashing, but I think Mark Warren and the other two, it's very, very attractive. What it does is it makes you very broad. It makes your shoulders bigger. It's got this wonderful kind of casual flap here, which, that just sort of, it's like, I didn't bother doing it up, I'm not with rules, mate, And then what it's got is I was one of the older ones who actually could fit into the white leather jodhpurs. And then it's got a sash, which also sort of doubles as it holds your sword belt down. And it's also very, very slimming. And then the way it's cut so you're, it's cut like this at the front. It's like, check out the packet. I mean, it's like, look at the packet there. Yes. I mean, that's what it's sort of designed to do. I mean, it's very flirty-gurty from number 30. I mean, but no, that's, even as the actor, even the sort of person I am, no, I would have been completely and entirely inappropriate as one of those guys. They were beautifully cast.
Yes, they were beautifully cast.
They were really lovely. Right.
Stephen Hart says, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Gary Fowler here says, Brian Cox, the original Hannibal Lecter. Yes,
he was great. Brian Cox in Manhunter,
Bear.
Michael Mann's film.
Yes.
He's brilliant.
A lot of wonderful things he did.
He's great. If you haven't seen Succession on HBO, watch it. It's magnificent.
Alan Hunt says, the drawings were of the treatment both sides. What is that?
Flayings, impalings and such. He's talking about Goya's drawings.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Flayings, impaling and such like. Yes.
Yeah, it sounds good night out, Alan. Just say, maybe we can send them to us. We'll do it.
Well, it was a very dark period, let me tell you. Roxbury Angus says, I worked with Daniel Craig on Skyfall. Very funny stories. He's a character, all right. Yes.
It was very hard. Look, if you'd come to Sharpe and been a pretentious prick, you would have had it knocked out you pretty quick. You know what I mean? You really couldn't have done it because it was very down to earth and very blocky. You know what I mean?
Mel says, love you together. Legacy of Sharpe. And then Mel says also, I studied history at university thanks to Sharpe. That's nice.
Look, my friend Kenneth Aitchison, I always say we have different jobs for the same reason. He's an archaeologist and I'm an actor because both of us want to be Indiana Jones.
Yes.
That's what happens.
Jacob says, I am a stage actor myself, and Jacob.
Jacob was in Indiana.
Oh yeah, and I have an awkward stance on consistency of roles. By pursuing consistency, it becomes a trap into becoming typecasting. To me, being an actor requires being a chameleon, changing to fit
ever-changing
roles shown on stage from one show to another.
Listen, the problem isn't typecasting. The problem is not being cast. If you can manage to get typecast in something long enough, you will then be able to change it. The important thing that we have to do, and we tell actors this all the time, is you've got to learn how to use who you are to begin with. You're not being somebody else. You're being you in a different context. That's kind of what it is. We're not here to talk about acting. We do that all day, every day.
No, but no. See, we're talking. What do you mean we're not?
No,
here?
I don't want to get into a whole thing. I mean, because it's it's not necessarily what people are into.
Yeah. Okay. Simon says.
Simon.
Oh, sorry. Simon, we say.
There you go, Simon. Look at that. You're now Simon Bricon.
Oh, look at this little boy.
You're little girl. Simon Bricon.
Oh, that's very nice. Very cute, both of you. I love Sharpe. I have watched all episodes 100 times over. Thank you for making the films. It was my childhood. Sorry if this has been asked, but have you read any of the books? The books are fantastic reads. Yes, I read some of the books before I was going there, and then I had one book. But the reality is that, you know, we had there the history advisor. We had there the script, writer. We had the director, and you know, they were just putting the things that they liked there. But if you that's something I did with biographies and books and adaptations. Sometimes if you really like something and you really want to put it, then you have a conflict with everybody because it's not
relevant.
It's not relevant to them. And I had little things there in the books that they were so good, but I couldn't really fight for them because they were not in the subject. I think that is a very nice literature. And
well, one of the things
I had, for Arturo Pérez Reverte, I did also one book. It's called The Fencing Master, the one that we were saying that it was shown there. And I always think that you lose so many things when you go from a book to because it's only an hour and a half and that's it.
Mm-hmm. But
and the development of the characters are not the same. And
it reminds me of the joke. It's in a Hollywood studio on a soundstage. At the back of the soundstage, there's a storage facility in which they keep the movies in tins, and inside there's two goats, and one of them is eating the film out of a film can, and the other goat says to him, he says, "How is it?" He says, "Well, it's not as good as the book." Which seems to Tom Hardy for Sharpe. Yeah, Tom Hardy would be a bit. Yeah, Tom Hardy has the same sort of energy, full on. Don't want to mess with him. Real of integrity. If you see something like Warrior, or the one about the Cray twins.
That's the next Sharpe. Right?
Yeah, we're now casting the next Sharpe. I mean,
it's a pity that I cannot play Teresa Moreno anymore.
You can play her wise sister or something like that.
Yes.
Kieran, the lovely Kieran says, what were your favourite scenes to film, but also your favourite scenes for your character's growth?
Oof, I don't remember very well. I couldn't say. I remember a scene in the woods that it was really, really nice that I collaborate into the writing, but I don't.
That's the scene where you say you agree to be a part. You sort of agree to not be together because this is just going to be too painful when something happens to either of you.
That's my.
And then
writing.
your final thing is, but so what?
Yes.
Right,
yes.
and it's very much about living for today.
Yes, and it was that I remember because I wrote it. Well, not that I wrote the entire thing, but I tried to get it better.
I have to say that for me, just because it's one of the best stories, on the Siege of Badajoz, there's a point where we've broken through the walls and we've been advancing on it, and it was my first experience of Ukrainian pyrotechnics. Now, what normally happens, like when you have explosions on the ground, the way it normally works is you have something like a little steel cup, right, with a charge that goes underneath it, and what they do is they dig a little hole, they put it in there, they fill it with black powder, they cover it with peat, and they direct it so it's blowing up away from the person who's near it. So if it's Assumpta's here, I direct it like this, and then it will go away from her, right? There, no, not at all. What they do is they dig a hole, put a charge in it, and run a wire off it. So when it blows up, it literally blows up like
everywhere.
that. And the thing that gives it the burn, the thing that gives it the fire to it and the sparks is the peat that they put on top of it. So I'm walking forward, and they go, right, Scott, are you all right? The first AD, was his name Michel? I can't remember. He was French. Should have been a warning to us there, boys. Right? He was finally getting his revenge. So he said, all right, so you walk forward and you see that small twig, there's a small explosion there. And another Peter, you see there's a larger twig, big explosion, be careful. And I'm like, I haven't seen any explosions yet, so I can't compare a big one from a small one. Because quite frankly, when I started walking, all explosions were big. And what happens is there's no acting whatsoever. So you're going, steady boys, steady, onwards, and you're walking at the front. And this is when they said, I learned that expression from Richard, I think he told me. He said there were two types of officers back in the day. There were the ones that said, go on, and there was the ones that said, come on, right? And that was always the play. That's a very important element in Sharpe itself. So I'd be walking forward, and the first thing went off, and I got a face full of burning peat. And in those moments, God, it's exciting, and there's no acting necessary whatsoever.
No.
None whatsoever. But what happened was there's a point where I run up to there's the glacis with all the debris which has come down from the hill, from the breach that's in the wall. And the action was this. I scramble up to the top with my light cavalry saber out. I get to the top, the Frenchies pop out, and I realize that it's sort of a quasi-ambush, and I turn and go back down the hill, right? And I was told this was going to happen. So what would happen is that I would get to the top. As I was coming, just as I got to the top, there'd be an explosion behind me. I'd see them, and then I'd turn and go back down the hill. And as I went back down the hill, there'd be another explosion on the top of the hill behind me. Unfortunately, somebody decided that they would put up a whole bunch of soldiers running in front of me. So what was supposed to be a clear run up, I now had to get out of the way. So what happened was, I got to the top of the hill. I was delayed. So what happened was, as coming up to the top of the hill, I got blown up. I got to the top of the hill late, and I got blown up again. And when I got back I basically tumbled down the hill. Now my main worry was that there was extras strewn all over the place. I thought they were dummies. They were real men.
No.
Freezing their arses off.
They were all military people.
But I got to the bottom of the hill and I was on fire. I was actually the braids that come off by your sword belt. It was actually smoking, and it was like that. Right. And they were like, Scott, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I suppose so. Right, going again.
The French.
No, it was like that, and then they blew me up twice. It was wonderful. Right.
Yeah, no, it was not. I mean, the Americans saw that. I mean, it's no safety at all.
As my brother says, just like Northern Ireland. Right.
Teresa was a strong female character. Have you got a real life female role model from history?
Well, you've played them, huh?
Yeah.
Assumpta did a film called The Freedom Network, which is a true story of a nun, part of the Daughters of Charity, who between 1943 and 1945 created a network of effectively partisans in the south of France, and she freed 2,000-3,000 people from concentration camps, prisoner camps, and she actually helped in the liberation of the man of Francois Mitterrand, who would ultimately become the president of France.
Yes, very moving. It was a very great story that Pablo Moreno wrote, this man that we were saying that in Ciudad Rodrigo. So that was 2017. I did this movie as this woman who was a French woman called Elena Studler, who was a nun, and was a real character. I love doing biographies. Biopics. I love it because, I have the opportunity to know great people, and it gives me a lot of pleasure and peace, understanding that these people actually existed and are actually there, for all of us to get better. Yeah.
Robert says, what an amazing coincidence. I'm not quite sure, what was he talking about?
The Ciudad Rodrigo's thing, I suppose.
Oh, yes. Adam Warren says, Ciudad Rodrigo is an amazing place. The scars on the church from the siege are a real reminder. Yeah, they're still pitted with the cannonball.
If they want to do a film there is plenty of us green actors who will help out, I bet.
You will be getting the call.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
He's a very good friend, and he would love that. He would love, he's a wonderful person.
Right.
Gavin John says, those Protestants up to no good, as usual.
We never are. Never are. Right. Let me see.
Then it says...
I never steal anything. I found it in the middle of a French comment. Well, column. Well, Gavin, it is then fair game. I mean, if it's French... You know, those cheese-eating surrender monkeys. It's terrible. The French have got a terrible reputation amongst the British
You know what we
for
could
surrendering, and they didn't do it in the Napoleonic Wars.
No.
They were a bunch of, you know, for the most part, a pretty decent army.
You know what we could do? I was thinking now that thing comes to me.
Well, hang on a second, Adam. Put it down. Put it away somewhere safe. You're going to poke an eye out with that, right?
I was thinking that we
Yes.
could do on Skype, invite Jason to come, and we could have a very nice...
I would love to do that. I know that they all hooked up. There was John and John Tams and Michael Mears and Lyndon was there, and
where?
Well, the Frozen Men. They got their
Frozen Men.
the Frozen Men.
So it would be nice to... Yeah, it would be nice to hear what they thought about me, actually.
Right. Here's a question. Did
Question
you use
first.
method on the set? No, nobody gets drunk and goes and shoots a movie. The days are too long. You'd have to maintain your drunkenness. You know, by the end of a day on a film set, after 14 hours, you're effectively you're very low functioning by that point. You can barely remember your own name, let alone your. I remember the theater Rodrigo was taken. That was like 3 o'clock in the morning, -6 degrees, cannons going off. I'd never heard such a noise. It's brutal, absolutely madness. And they did this thing with the.
I love it, though.
Yeah, she loves it. Yeah, but you ride like a gaucho. You're like, you just, you know, you're crazy. I love it to bits. Let's go. Question. No, right. So,
There's an official Sharpe channel on YouTube.
I'm sure that these guys here, Totti, I'm sure they made it. They are
the real thing.
They are the thin end of the wedge, quite frankly. Yeah, Hornblower. Yeah, my very good friend Greg Weiss, he did Hornblower.
Oh,
That's
really?
with Ewan Griffith. It's about the same time. It's got a sort of, it's sort of like the naval brother of Sharpe.
But not the Spanish people there. They didn't cast me.
I don't know. I never saw much of it. No, you're not there. They can maybe have a crossover. You know, they can have the Napoleonic cinematic universe. You know, they kind of live like that. It's like people have posited that, like, The Right Stuff, Apollo 13. First Man, all those films that are about the space race, they're kind of part of the same cinematic universe.
Jenna says, I love that Teresa is such a strong female character.
Right.
Yes, I love that too.
Right. Okay.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm doing that. Something that some of Sharpe's future ladies were definitely lacking. The costume was amazing too. Yes.
I think what you saw with those particular dresses, you know, that sort of scoop it up, a lot of cleavage up here. It's like a little bag to keep your goods in. And a bonnet, a parasol. I mean, it was very undynamic. You were, you know, and kind of asexual because there was no waist. There was sort of start underneath your.
I love my costume. I was very, very proud of.
This is great, but I think the great thing about her, which is very, not heroic, that's very heroine, like the heroine's journey, is the fact that she would maintain her femininity. You know, it's like there's a scene in Sharpe's Company when she's wearing a blue dress and she's with these French guys and she's being all flirty,
yes.
and then she stabs one of them. Well, the story was...
No, don't say it.
She actually stabbed him.
No.
So it was basically that they went in and they kind of pulled Assumpta away, like took the knife out of her hand, and she was like, what? And she's like that. No. You were like, oh, God, absolute sissy.
I didn't do anything with it.
You were like that. You absolute sissy. Which is absolutely wonderful. Right. Right. Somebody said that I look better that I rocked it better than somebody Irons, who apparently called himself Irons for obvious reasons.
Crystal is asking you, Scott, do you think had you been alive then, would you have served in the military?
Oh, definitely. I would almost. But no. I'm from Leith. I'm from train spotting country. No, if I grew up in the social class that I would have been born into, I wouldn't have gone to be cannon fodder. You know, it's a little bit like we've all played this game. In the Second World War, what would I have done? What have I done? And I probably would have been, I'd like to think I would have been a pilot or a gunner or something like that.
Oh, you'll be dead soon.
No, but it's interesting. But in the military, one of the things that I've discovered, and it's was only from Sharpe, but when I was in Los Angeles, I did a film called McHale's Navy, which is terrible. Don't watch it. But I met some really nice people on it.
It's not bad.
But I got to know the armorers and a lot of the people who were working in the stunts, and they were all former military men and women. And I discovered that military people have a lot in common with actors. They're completely misunderstood. They can't really tell anybody, explain what their job is or how they work, and that they are much more complex people than everybody assumes that they are. And
yes, you always have a great respect, and you have very good friends that they are military people.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm always surprised. I don't have. Well, of course.
Well, see, the trouble is a lot of times people judge. They have all these reasons to judge people, and it's absolutely not. It's a very interesting thing because we've taught and worked a lot in Argentina, and I've met people who had family who were in the Falklands conflict, and I always say, well, how is that? And the one thing, and it's always found it very touching, is they said the British soldiers, the professional British soldiers, the squaddy and the paras, he said they treated their prisoners better than the generals treated their own soldiers. And they said that they had enormous respect for the British fighting men, which I was always very touched by that.
Nice. Gary Fowler says, it's been great to see you both and hear your thoughts and recollections of your time on Sharpe, but I have to make a family video call. Stay safe and keep up the good work.
Oh, well, thanks, Gary. See you later. Yeah, look,
we've
been at this for an hour and 50 minutes. I think we should, because...
yes, let's see if there is some last one.
Right. Well, Neil's talking about Hornblower. Now we're on a different show. You're going to have to call Owen Griffith about that, and he'll be able to tell you. The Sharpe podcast and a Hornblower podcast are available. Oh, there we go. That's nice.
Look, put it there.
That's interesting to know.
Yes, the Sharpe podcast and the Hornblower podcast are available via Spotify, etc., on the history hit lists.
I didn't know that they had their own podcast. That's
me
cool.
neither.
That's great. My brother says, no fecking way, I'd like to apologise to everybody who's still watching for his dreadful, dreadful potty mouth. My brother is a great man with a wonderful family. Yes. And pretty much,
Rose.
if he tried harder, he would compete with me in every single way when it comes to acting, that's for sure. Yeah. And
Kate said, I thought you were both amazing in Sharpe.
Very proud of you, Ross. Very proud of you.
Says Kath Slinger, I thought you were both amazing in Sharpe, my favorite show ever. And no one ever came close to Teresa, Sharpe's love interest. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you, Kath.
Well, thank you, Kath. And I have to say thank you for everybody who's turned up. Let's go with the last two things and we should close up because people don't you have homes to go to?
Yeah. John Dawson says, what do you think Teresa would have done had she lived to find out Richard that Scotland Lady Farthingale? I reckon any guy gets a free pass in that instance.
Lady Farthingale is
the
Elizabeth Hurley.
Yeah.
She's a piece of work. She would have been, I think Teresa would have been like, yeah, fair enough. I'll give you this one.
Who is this creature?
Yeah. Who is this bizarre creature? You know, it's like she would have been like that. I'm glad you did, Sharpe. I'm glad you did, Richard. I meant I didn't have to. Right. Everybody's drifting off now.
Thank you, guys. Speaking as a serving army officer, I can confidently say Sharpe is well revered by the British military.
Sir.
This has been amazing. Sad I came late. Thanks so much. Nick Taylor, second that.
Right. You beautiful people. Well, the Perkins death scene, yeah.
The eternal debate is that Perkins' death scene is the saddest, but I think it was Teresa's. Do you agree? Yeah.
I think it's sad because what it is, it's a very specific type of feminine energy which was going to be gone. It was real because what happens is that Sharpe was the father and Teresa was very much the mother to the men. And that was a thing that was really heartbreaking to lose. Is that they were such a fierce, this unit, this couple, this king and queen of these people and everything that they did. And so to lose that, it meant you were losing this very powerful element in the story.
Yes, I don't know why they killed me, really.
You had to die, darling. You're far too good. Right.
Neil Taylor says, could we have another one of these again very soon? Really enjoyed this tonight. Well, let's see what we can do. No?
Well, absolutely. Look, we're open. We are not where we live normally, which is in Madrid. We're in Barcelona in somebody's house.
I'm doing theatre play. Well, I mean, whenever the government says that we can, but we are rehearsing here through Skype.
Right. Whatever everybody's interested in, whatever you want to do, we are live every day on at 6 o'clock, which is 5 o'clock in the UK. And,
but of course, it's in Spanish. So
of course, it's in Spanish, but we're also going to be doing it once a week on Wednesdays. Normally, you have our slot to do it in English, so it will always be at 7 p.m. If you want to keep an
8
update,
p.m. Oh, 7
p.m. in the UK, which
yes,
is 11 a.m.
Sorry.
Pacific Standard Time, California time. So if you have interest in keeping up with what we're doing, go follow Assumpta's page, and you'll get a notification in your inbox when we're going live or whatever we're doing. But we will be doing our normal live streams on Wednesdays at 7 p.m.
British. Oh, sorry.
British, for the name of God. 27 years and she still says English.
It's true.
It's a curious thing. Thank you so much, people. You are absolutely wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for being there.
It has been a delight. What will it take you to get over to the UK to meet Sharpe fans?
Says.
Probably a plane, sir. I think some form of flying vehicle will be excellent, and you can certainly count me in, as long as there's duty free in the airport. No, so bring it. We'd go. They might not have me, but they should. You're.
No.
You're Teresa, man. No, you're Teresa.
Well, see you.
Right.
Bye.
Count on it, and
yes, we'll organize something.
It's been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you very entertaining. Much. Thank you, David.
Entertaining. David.
We like that. That's what we are, entertaining. We're trying to.
In the long scale of things, all we're ever doing is walking each other home.
Exactly.
If we can make anything entertain for a briefest moment,
yes,
then it's all been worthwhile. Right? Okay. If you bring us over, I'll sing Hearts of Oak, okay?
Thank you for your hearts. Thank you for your thumbs up. Love you, Bo. Love you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye.